Hi YouTube, happy Monday or Tuesday, wherever you're at. I'm doing okay. We do have a heat advisory coming in for today, so I opened the windows. It got a little cold last night. It was in the 60s, so I opened the windows, and right now Doug thinks it might be because of his medicine, but he had to put his coat on. I said, well, you'll thank me for it later, letting all the cold air in the house right now. So, yeah. So I got up and got my exercises done, coffee made, got cleaned up, and all that good stuff, getting ready for the day that I do not have a clue what I'm going to do today, or if I even want to do anything. So, although I know I will, I always do. Even when I think I'm going to take a day off, I don't know, I get bored, you know. As far as, okay, not maybe actually bored, but I know there's things that I have to do or should do, and I end up doing them anyway, so yeah. Oh, I was just thinking about how I let things hurt my heart. It's like, if you have an injury and you let it scab over, it's like I keep picking the scab off that stupid thing. Um, as far as the love that I'm capable of in a relationship that I have never seen displayed towards me. It doesn't matter if it's been like adopted parents or spouses or children. My grandchildren, that's a little bit different. But then once again, they don't live with me. They think their mother's tough stuff on them. I might even be worse, who knows. Because all mothers get frustrated with teenagers, my sweet granddaughters. Don't forget that. It's their hormones are all out of whack, and especially if you have more than one child, and then if you have one that has needs special attention, this creates a extra for the whole family to deal with. So sometimes in a family there's a lot going on underneath that kids may not be aware of, that makes it harder on the parents. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about how stupid I have been in my life, not to have loved people, but to think that they were going to be able to reciprocate. So it's like I might as well just take a bat and beat myself in the head with it. It's like, when are you ever going to learn that most people just are not capable of being loyal in their core of who they are? They just are not capable of displaying what I believe true love is, even towards their kids, or. A lot of it seems so superficial and fictitious to me. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what's on my mind today, is just, yeah, sometimes I just upset myself. And then if I involve other people as far as trying to find some kind of reprieve for the pain, it ends up getting worse 9 times out of 10. There's a couple people out here with common sense. As far as mental health issues are concerned, that can talk to me on that depth, that level of understanding, coming from a place where they've examined themselves first, and then they're able to speak on behalf of other people or to other people with that deep concern that they carry and it's not very many people actually. So yeah, I thought I'd just make my video early today in case it does get super hot later, you know. So cheers. Yeah, I'm not smoking nothing right away today. Yesterday was a little bit early for me, but I don't know. I wanted to try and numb my senses a little bit. Just not really. More just relax. Something to do, you know. 'Cause I don't get over, I mean, if you knew, like I told you about that one incident yesterday that happened like oh, over 12 years ago now. But it's been in succession through my life. The betrayals from even my parents betraying each other. I I I'll never get it. I don't understand it. Why even be together if you're gonna act stupid as a couple? What are you telling the world anyway? You know, you can make it look like you're um solid in the world, and your world is helter-skelter behind closed doors. How can people lie to themselves and go out and face the world and pretend everything's okay like that? I don't know. It's something they do. It doesn't bother them, obviously. I've seen people die stupid, and it never seemed to bother them. Well, maybe one person in my life, it might have bothered him, my adopted dad. I still don't know. I wasn't able to, well, I did not want to keep contact, not close contact. It was too chaotic, just turmoil and drama and just, I mean, yeah, there's a way to, like, if you're upset or angry or whatever, there's constructive ways that you can talk to people and work through things. I've had arguments with friends on here and we're about ready to like come to blows, but the love in our hearts wouldn't allow us to take it any further than that, because we told ourselves there's something about this person that I love that's worth taking extra time and effort, because you saw that reciprocated. You saw that concern and drive for other people. And you're the ones I'm talking to, you know, because you've been through the gamut too. You've been through the whole thing, you know, so you know where I'm coming from with all that. Yeah. We can't help loving who we love, like the good parts of the people that we love. But how do you live with the rest of it? You know, it's almost impossible, you know. So making a decision within myself that I'd rather be separate, you know. I made that decision years ago because I can't stand people that are unfaithful. I just have too much loyalty to be connected and yoked and um, bonded to somebody that doesn't hold that same type of respect for me that I require, you know, and deserve. So it's like, nah, I'm better off alone like that. As friends, hey, cool, whatever. But as an intimate partner, no. I don't settle for less than what I want. So, mm, no, no, thank you. You know, yeah. I just don't do the disloyal thing, you know. It's like with that hot tub incident. If I had been there and not like it would happen, like some man would take a newborn child of a mother we just met and take it in a room and leave me and the father or whatever in the hot tub together. Um, get, go on, Nellie, get, scram. But you know, and I don't know. That could happen. There's probably men that do have that type of integrity. Like you could see children need help and the adults in the situation aren't doing what they need to do for those little ones. And I've always been in that position where, yeah, the kids come first no matter what. But, you know, looking back on it, it's like, I've never been in the position where the men actually do. I mean, so in that, I would have felt uncomfortable that my spouse did want to get out of the hot tub, and I would have said, I'll be right with you, or, you know, excuse me to the other person, or I just would have, you know, especially upon just meeting people. It was all so inappropriate. And then being stuck in one room with two lustful minds all night long. It was so, for 2 days, it was like, I really, it's not like I wanted to kill myself or anything, but if I could have, just to get out of the situation, you know. But I did make the best of it. There was a pool there. I did some swimming, but this retarded place where I was closed the pool at 9 o'clock at night. You know, sometimes like if your kids are in bed, if you're traveling, and you know, you might wanna or get up early and do some swimming or stuff, you know, without the kids. I don't know. It's like, why not just keep your pool open? You know, what are you afraid somebody's going to drown in the middle of the night? I don't know. I don't know. But it was all just really weird because we had ordered 2 rooms, and when we got there, one for the mother and her children, and one for us. And they were supposed to be like suites. They were supposed to be top of the line, and we ended up in this one. It was a pretty much a dive, you know. I don't know. So yeah, it was a pretty bad experience, but it's just one of many, and this is not sure, poor decisions that I've made on my part. I don't regret going to meet my grandchild. I do regret meeting the mother. If you're watching this, you're not likable to another woman that is a stable-minded, family-minded female. I do not act like the men. I do not play with the boys. I did when I was a little girl, but I don't play with boys anymore. And women that do, they're, to me, it's gross. And it's a gross injustice too. If you have children, you're really acting like dirt in front of your children and other women, so whatever. But I was able to deal with it. I haven't quite overcome it. I don't know that I will. So it's just too many things through my life with these same type of people. It's the people that I'm talking about and their personality disorders and behavior. Um, uh, illnesses, they're mental illnesses. I can't prove evil. Like I've always said, these people are evil. I can't prove evil, but I can prove you're insane. And I'm not going to let this world turn what is good and clean and decent into the normal and not say anything about it. There's still people out here that aren't insane like that, and we're the ones that are suffering. And these creatures know that. They're fully aware of what they're doing. It's not a mistake, you know, not even close. Or I would have told my spouse, yeah, I'm still a little sore from driving. I'm going to sit here in the hot tub for a while. I love you. I'll see you later, or whatever. You know, something, some kind of connection with your spouse that a normal person would put that extra effort in that I've never had displayed towards me, that extra effort that I've always done for people. If it's friends, if it's kids, I've always gone the extra mile, you know. So I refuse to let anybody with a degree, and I'm not talking to all of you out there, it's just certain ones in particular that have never met anybody like me. I won't let you demean me because you have no clue of my integrity, of how I've always been. This is not something brand new today or something I thought of or some kind of movement like spiritual movement with people or something. This is ingrained in me. I was born like this, you know? I really was. Yeah, I'll just kick around for a while and talk to you. And, uh, yeah. So if you've lived through them type of things with um, unfaithful partners and infidelity and that type of thing, it's not really something you get over because you don't act that way. You're not like that, so you can't act, you can understand them, you know. When you're young you might be stupid, but even then, okay, here's a scenario. This is the way I've always been. Okay, say like I was young and I had a few guys that might have liked me at the same time. I never at any time told any one of them that I was like a steady or this, like you're mine, and it was like, no, I'm thinking about this guy, and I told him I'm going out with you because we're not that close. We're just, so if you're close with somebody, you're not going to, number one, be going out with somebody else. So I had suitors, but all of them knew about each other, is what I'm saying. You know, it's just the way I am, you know. And no, I didn't get close with all of them. It's just, you know, that's my integrity. That's who I am, you know. So, and even I've had men tell me the same thing. Hey, let's go out on a date. I am seeing this other gal or whatever, but she knows I'm I'm dating in the dating on the dating scene and whatever, you know. So it wasn't any kind of lies or any kind of bullshit like people will do. Like they'll have a boyfriend and then go cheat on them. What's that? Why? Why not be honest up front? Like, if you're not actually looking to be married at that time, you know, why lie to a person and say that you're my absolute forever something something, when you may not be or they may not be, you know? So I'm not big on the lying thing, is what I'm trying to say. I had somebody give me a set of rings when I was 15 and then found out he was cheating on me, and I was talking to him on the phone and I put him in the toilet. I go, "Do you hear this?" And I flushed him down the toilet, and oh, he was pissed. In fact, I was babysitting some kids, and he came to where I was babysitting with a shotgun, and he was going to kill me. So, yeah, he was serious about killing me, but he wasn't serious about me being his one and only. So, and besides, they were too big, the rings, and his head, you know. But yeah, I don't do the unfaithful type thing. I never have. And so I just really never expected it because I've always been up front like that. Uh, it's and here's another scenario with my ex. When I decided he was going to be my ex, we were walking through a parking lot, and these girls are looking at him, or he's looking at these girls. They were not looking at him. But I pushed him towards them, and I said to them, I said, "This dick is for sale for a quarter today if you have it." And I shoved them towards them. They started just roaring with laughter. I thought it was pretty funny too. You know, that's just how I roll. you know, he didn't think it was very funny. If you're watching, wasn't that some funny shit? I'm just funny, aren't I? Well, I thought I was. And I've done other things like that because I do not tolerate it. I'm not like that, and I've always had that modicum of self-control, even as a little kid like that. So, whatever, you know. Yeah, so I don't understand the infidelity thing. People could just be honest and say, "Hey, I don't intend to get that close with you, but we could pretend for a while, you know." Well, that's all true. That's real and that's possible, you know. I had friends I would have lived with and not maybe been their significant other, but been definitely the best friend they ever had. I still have friends out there that would take me up on that offer in a heartbeat just for companionship. So, I still won't settle for less than what I want, you know, and I don't know why people would. Variety to me is not the spice of life. Sometimes too much spice in a dish is really gross, and that's the way I look at it. And I'm not into sharing everybody's germs on this planet. We all have enough of our own, and when we come in close contact with people, we are actually sharing cells and air and all these things, it comes in contact with us regardless. We actually become a little part of the people we come in contact with. Ew. Ooh, think about that next time you shake somebody's hand. You know, careful where you put your hands. They may not come back the way you put them out there. So, and that's all true too. So yeah, I'm probably the most loyal person I know, aside from the Spirit of God. That's always a constant. I don't always understand why. Like, how many times do I have to see disloyalty to know that that's a really big thing on this planet? I'm not learning this lesson. Sometimes people aren't here to learn lessons. Do you ever think of that? You see these posts, it's like, if you go through something, and this could be true for some people, I'm just saying that this does not always apply. If you are confronted with something over and over again, I've had many different reactions to the same type of treatment, and it all has still left me in the peaceful state that I'm meant to be in. So nothing has changed in my life. Whether I've cried or got angry or whatever, it always comes back to square one where I have gotten my heart. I'm not gonna hate anybody, but I don't like the way they act, and I'm occasionally probably going to call them names like sluts and hogs and swine, or chew fits. If the curly tail fits your ass, put it on. you know just leave me out of it. That's the part I don't understand. Maybe that's my lesson, that I'm supposed to understand why I'm in the cage with the rest of people in the zoo. Yeah, like I did something to deserve it. No, no, I didn't. So really, I go back to what I said. This isn't my lesson. It's their lesson, you know? So maybe you, being that loyal person in their life, is for their benefit and their lesson, you know? Like, they didn't appreciate that loyalty. That's really how I feel. Yeah, betrayal. Just why? Why? Right now, today, if I felt like I liked somebody else, I'd go tell Doug. I really would. I don't care if we had just met or just got married or what it was. I'm straight up like that. And the truth hurts a lot of times, but that's really how I operate. If I had been there and I wanted to stay in that hot tub with some dude while my husband took his grandchild up in the hotel room, I would have said, hey, I just gotta say, I'm gonna stay here because I'm liking this company better. Would be harsh, wouldn't it? But is that gonna make him feel any worse than he would by taking the grandchild up there and just leaving me alone there? Not really. or saying nothing, I would have. I would have been like, just go to sleep, you old thing. I got a younger person, be it that it's all out of shape and absolutely stupid and more to my liking, but just go to sleep. I have my attentions directed somewhere else. you know? Yeah. I know you probably don't believe that, but that is how I am. So if I were to like change my mind on anything, and we're all susceptible to changing our minds, if that's what's in our hearts. And lucky us if it's not. I mean, I wouldn't want to be somebody else. I just like being straightforward. you know, it's honesty is the best policy. I mean, it's easy for somebody to come and confront you with their shit after the fact, after they've done something. It's like, okay, well, I knew you were like a lower vibe anyway. It's no big surprise, but it's the hurt factor. Why keep somebody like why keep holding somebody's hand and look at somebody else while you're holding their hand? It's like I think some of you actually get where I'm coming from. Some people are capable of true love and other people aren't, and I think the ones that aren't, and a great concept that people have talked about before, that maybe you should have to pay a lot of money just to be able to marry a woman. If you're a man, maybe you should have to put up thousands of dollars, like, um, before you even have a right to even date her. That would cut down on a lot of divorces and the expense on the divorce. How many people would actually, I mean, some people might, but most people would not invest that amount of money on just somebody that they're thinking to just use, like to potentially use like a filler in their life as they're searching for their next conquest. So, and that's actually why when I went to meet this little baby that's a new part of my family, another grandchild, them years ago, the mother didn't want to be faithful to my son, you know, but I did take things like some pretty expensive jewelry and different things out to give to this child and the mother so they would have something from my side of the family to fall back on if and she was at that time and for many years of my granddaughter's life living with her mother and stepfather. And that was a weird situation because the stepfather would always like come on to this stepdaughter of his, and the mother, I used to live in that town and the mother had actually, I believe, slept with my ex. It's a mess, and in all reality, um, even this young woman herself could be relative to my children. Um, my son might have slept with his stepsister, as dishonest as the mother is, her mother. So I mean, this thing is entirely deep and way too gross for me to explain, but I'm trying my best. Oh, yeah, it's been a long life, people. Not always terrible, but I have some great memories, but most of them I was in La La Land thinking that people grow and change, and I thought, okay, so I'm a pretty mature young woman, and I met this man ab- about the same age, and I thought, we're gonna grow together, and people do grow up, and women mature a little quicker, so I thought, yeah, well, this'll be okay someday. But it never was. And then it just seemed like I kept meeting the same type of people. People that were willing to lie that they would be faithful, or that even that they had gone through. See, this is what got me with Doug. That he had been cheated on by his wife, and um, he had to kick her out, and all these things that. And when I met him, he was like so sad because of all this bad things that had happened to this good family man. That one got me. Oh, it really did. Talk about being fooled, you know, pretending to be my friend on the basis of we had gone through similar things with a cheating, narcissistic type personality spouse. Like, for instance, like the same story, we both were gonna not have any alcohol in our home, but then all of a sudden that spouse wanted some and wrecked the whole situation, that type of. I mean, so many similarities that I believe were just bald faced lies. Knowing what I had gone through made it easier for him to finagle his way into my life. Knowing that I had children that I was taking care of and wouldn't deny, I would always have a stable place for my children, and he would be able to utilize that for himself, you know. So, yeah, so I'm not going to let anybody with any type of degree try and psychoanalyze what I've been through. You have no clue. These are just a couple of crazy scenarios. There's hundreds, if not thousands of them that I've experienced, that when you know it's not you, and then you see it in the world way more than what would be considered normal as a healthy society, when you see mental illness rampant in the society, you do know it isn't you, don't you? Are you aware of that? Even if they try to tell you, make excuses why it would be you, you know it's not. That's where I'm at. So, and I've had people even admit it to me, but still go on and act how they're gonna act. That's why I have a estranged husband, and we're not close as that relationship should or could have been. And it never will be, because I cannot trust in that. I'll never trust him again. Not on that level. I'll trust that he does certain things in his life, and if it makes his life go around, and if that includes me, well and fine for him. And if it doesn't, well, I've had to stand tall with my own convictions towards myself and grow emotionally without these people. I've had to push their mental illnesses and their feigned insecurities, because to you they're gonna pretend they're insecure, or they had a bad childhood, or their mommy didn't love them enough, or whatever excuses they want to make to display poor behaviors to you. You have to still keep in mind that you've went through these type of things perhaps too, and you overcame them like a healthy adult, and they have the same opportunity to do that, and they have a great example out of you on how to do that, and they choose not to. So there you are. You're at your standstill still. Now you can psychoanalyze that situation all you want to do, but you still can't turn a sow's ear into a silk purse. Or like my adopted dad used to say, you cannot polish a turd. Well, if I had been as sarcastic back then when I first heard that, I would have said, well, maybe if you wait till it dries and you shellac it, you might be able to. But then it would just still be a turd underneath that shellac and that polish. So, yeah, that's my point. So, like on the money, pluribus unum. In many, or in many there's one. Well, is that the Christ spirit or is that satanic? You know. Well, being that it's Latin. And oh, here's something very cool. I have such a diverse friendship with people on here, even an archbishop for a Catholic church, rabbi, Jesuit, housewives, doctors, psychiatrists. You all are carpenters, painters, nurse, different people. um, Even a woman that raises goats, actually, two of them, different people. And we all get what we're saying to each other. So if you can take such a diversity in the world and have an understanding in other people, so the people around you are acting very strange, just keep in mind that there might be people like you, and it is a satanic system, and they definitely do not want us to be able to communicate. I know that. If you knew the many, many times that dark forces have tried to stop me to even get on here to say a good word to you, yeah, that's real. There's really no reason for it except, but I'll tell you in a minute here. Say like you're the prize in the world. You, whoever you are, you're the prize. And knowing that, you're going to get on there and you're going to talk to somebody else that is a prize, say a prized possession of God. And of course, you know who you are, and so does the people you're talking to. Well, that dark force, the satanic people around you will group together and do their little shenanigans to try and stop you from communicating with those other parts of God. And that's exactly what's going on in the world. Like I say, there's big channels or people in positions in my country that know full well how they're trying to stop me, whether it's with their, oh, here's one. Have you seen that video? It's a snippet of Jordan Peterson of a ad. I don't know what he's advertising, but he gets on there, and the first look you see, and then see, I don't watch the commercial. It'll go right into whatever show I'm watching, because whoever isn't making us sit through their commercials unless we want to. But this dude, the first thing you see is, I'm like, whoa, what the hell is that? You get 1 second of this nasty snarl. Wow. I think I mentioned it last week when I had first seen it. It's like, whoa. Yeah, I knew that anyway. At least I'm not out there pretending like I'm all sunshine and roses, you know? But that's a good commercial for everybody to see, especially if you only see the first frame. Oh, it's just beautiful. So perfect. I don't know if it's YouTube themselves that just left it on there, but yeah, that exposes the true depth of what's in that soul being pissed at me, because I'm telling you that pornography does not belong in a solid marriage. It's not going to help at all. And I don't care what that woman says, unless she's so loose that her mind has no faculties of motherhood and what it is to be a true wife or any of that. If that's vacant, well, then it doesn't really matter what you say and do in front of her, because she's not all there. But the normal woman does not want you looking at other women and then pretending you're close to her, or the normal man. It does not work like that. It just does not. It never will. You'll never have a healthy relationship pretending that other people are a part of your intimacy. It just is not real, you know? I can't stress that enough. You know, I mean, you can think it's going to work, and it might work for you. Maybe that's all you require. Maybe you don't have the imagination and the depth of experience to really know what your inner self wants, or like I say, maybe your wants aren't like mine, which is a great possibility. Maybe you don't desire that depth of a relationship that I'll probably never see on this planet, you know, but I can dream, you know. That's the desires of my heart. That's how God knows me. That's what I dream about. And I know in my future I will get the desires of my heart. I will be a part of a family that I have never had, you know, that I believe I was a part of before. that I'm going back, and this is just not an experience for me, although it is gives me great insight to the growth of human beings and whether or not they do want to grow, and how you're able to actually grow out of habits that you were around and learnt behaviors and those different things. It's all possible, because if you knew the amount of things that people tried to instill in me, that I knew it just wasn't right. I knew it when I was a little kid, and I think we all do, don't we? Don't we know what's right and wrong? Unless you have a mental handicap, or you're so controlled by Satan that you truly are evil. How do you come out of that? You know, first you would have to want to. But it's the ones that lie about it, that say they want to, that they want to work with you. That's what pisses me off. Or the ones that pretend to be my friend when they really can't stand me. That's the shit I hate, you know? I won't look at people any differently than I always have, no matter what they say or do, because I see inside them anyway, so why lie? You know? That's the part that's unnecessary. And the part that they think that it's not that they think that they're getting something over on me. It's the only control they have over me is to do something dirty or lie to me or whatever that would hurt me. That's hurting me is the only control they have over me. It'll never make any sense to me. You could control me with love a lot better. You sure could. It works a lot better with that for you, but you might not know that. But first, you would have to value a true friend to be able to even understand what I just said. You know. But yeah, the lies, expect the betrayals and the lies to go on for however long you are around that person, because that's all they know how to do. That's the only control. It's not like me. I have to organize a room. I feel my OCD or whatever we want to call it bothers me if something's disorganized. That's a way of being able to control things in my life, if that's how I want to word that. That's, I don't have to throw shade on somebody else or lie to somebody else or betray them in order to feel like I accomplished something, because I actually have my own accomplishments, you know. So we might have a bit of a noise coming up here. If we do, I might get up and just unplug the water. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I'm just too straightforward to play all them games. I just can't, you know? Like I was saying yesterday, I just want to crawl out of my own skin sometimes. It's not that, it's like, okay, play your games, but why try to make me a part of it, you know? That's the part that hurts. It's not so much even the betrayal. I expected that, even that last time. I had already give Doug a letter of divorcement, so it wasn't like we were close with that close connection that I expected some kind of loyalty or anything like that. But I had just met this woman and the baby and her son from another dude, and um, I expected some kind of a loyalty out of the mother of my granddaughter that I guess I just didn't expect her to be so brain dead, you know. I don't know. I'm just hoping that the grandkid doesn't grow up like that, you know. Hopefully she'll see what the grandmother and the mother are like. I knew the grandfather too years ago when they were like 17 years old. You know, we're all pretty young. Um, so I know these people, and hopefully my granddaughter will grow out of what was a generational curse. Hopefully, those beautiful big brown eyes she inherited will dominate her family, you know, with the common sense she inherited from her grandmother on my side, hopefully. Because I even watched, like, the father when the mother of my granddaughter, before they had children, I watched the father just stand there and get heartbroken as the mother was like coming on to my ex and stuff. And you know, when you see somebody going through things you're going through, you recognize those people, and it's like, yeah, we just looked at each other like, what am I laying with, you know? Ugh, that type of feeling, you know. Strange. And then I get accused of being some kind of a bad person because I'm just supposed to keep my mouth shut. I'm not supposed to talk about the evils in the world and just let them that are evil be evil still. Oh, like I could stop them? Yeah, of course. I'm going to let them be evil still. Like I said, they're breathing, they're still alive. If I had taken the bad route, I would have physically done something about it. But lucky for them, that's not my nature. Just the satanic thoughts that flow through every so often, you know, that I control, you know, knowing that it's not myself, you know. I am going to unplug this. Give me a moment. Oh, yeah. Just right now, the pump would have been coming on if I hadn't unplugged it. He might holler. He might need me to turn the water back on, but if that happens, I'll just get up again and do that. But yeah, yeah, not in the mood. So I'm not trying to inconvenience anybody or anything, but yeah, it's really loud. So, and it's right in here. This was meant to be like a laundry room. Back in the day, I turned it into a bedroom and turned the smaller bedroom into the laundry room. So, yeah. So I just started fixing this up as my own spot, and I'm still not finished. I started doing this right after a stroke, and then I broke my shoulder and arm catching Doug out of a tree. After I broke my toes, then I had my horse fall on me because her leg got injured because of somebody that knew what they were doing and injured my horse on purpose. So I could not leave the property with my horse. So I had this giant pet that I couldn't ride, and I almost died because of it. And I mean, there's so many satanic things that have happened to me that, and then being almost gassed to death, and so many other things, so many other things. These, even people, 3 different times in an operating room, they almost killed me. And it was by the grace of God that I lived. This is all really true. I woke up like I had the first plastic surgery on my tonsils at 12. I woke up in the middle of that operation. Talk about freaky. Same with I had a tubal ligation at 34. And then I went into menopause at 34. So I'm like way past what a lot of people are going through, like relatively in between 50 and 60 or wherever, whenever women will go into that. I was able to ahead of time tell them what that was like, so yeah, very weird, because they actually cut into areas of my body in there that they shouldn't have. They butchered me. And then the whole hospital closed. And then, okay, I went to this one doctor. You know what this bastard told me? And this is when I had a skin disease that the Masons had given me. It's called Morgellons. Then I started studying it and writing about it and getting into real deep. I mean, I was into microbiology before then, but then I went really deep into it. But this bastard told me it was all in my head. Well, I went to a skincare specialist through the Mayo Clinic here in Minnesota. And no, it wasn't all in my head. Yes, it was somewhat in my head because my hair was falling out because of the infection. And then I had a chronic sinusitis and a deviated septum that they worked on and whatever. But yeah, it was all in my head, bastard. But the whole hospital closed. I don't know if it was to guard off of malpractice or whatever, but it was pretty weird. I've been through some pretty strange things. And then that doctor quit for a while. Might have had something to do with the broken arm that he ended up getting when he was skiing, but not sure. But then he ended up coming back and practicing medicine again in a clinic that they had opened up in the same town or city. I don't know. So many weird things. So many. But yeah. But yeah, they tried to murder me. Then I went into the CDC's website and I printed out my paperwork because they had sent my skin samples to the CDC, and then I had went to another branch of the CDC in another city called Duluth up by Lake Superior, and it was called an unknown fluke. And there are several different types of flukes on the planet that are parasites. but they couldn't identify it, so they said, but I could identify it, and it was related to schistosomiasis. For you doctors, you know what I'm talking about, a relation to it, but they should have been able to pinpoint that if I could, right? Yeah. So I was starting to put two and two together and found the different components of what this organism that's multifaceted was made out of. The 9 different components, well, 3 basic ones of 3 variations, with 3 different gestation periods for this thing, encased into what constitutes like nanotechnology, if we want to call it that, or black goo, or a hard shell, or whatever. It's a combination parasite that's encased. And so anyway, I went back to try and contact the CDC again, and I found my name, but I couldn't find my paperwork again, but I had printed it out. So what they tried to do was try to bury my information after I had made it public, after I had written papers with the uh, precautions that you can take and different things like baking soda that'll help you detox from the methane that the parasites will cause inside you. And after I wrote my articles on morgellons.org, they tried to hide my documents, but I have hard copies of them, and in a few different places that information that they can't entirely wipe away out of existence, because I was smart enough to think that, well, to know that I have been treated shady all my life, and that I had to protect myself and other people, because this is actually a real illness that they're using to call it several different things, that is still only the one same thing it's always been, but they can use it in different ways and call it different things because of its varying nature. So it's involved. So, and some of you might not know if you're new here. When I was a little kid, I found vials, containers under a staircase. And here, real quick, in the Webster dictionary from, it was probably in the 70s and 80s, they started changing the terminology of words and the etymology of words, like the word hidden and staircase, and there's a connection with the Greek and how they were trying to bring the Hebrew into the language to deceive people. But okay, back to that staircase and this hidden panels that I found. 3 separate cases, like 2 were metal or the other way around, 1 was wooden, 2 was metal, or the other way around, like I'm saying, full of these little vials that said like polio and anthrax and COVID. I did not have any clue what COVID was. I was 12 years old. I found these things. I got in bad trouble because they found out I had been in there. My dad was in a lodge meeting, and I was left to my own devices in the lodge. So when they're in there doing their ceremonies or whatever they're doing, I'm out in the lodge snooping in the basement. Well, it was not quite the basement, it was 1 level down. And found these things. The next thing I know, all hell's breaking loose. And they took these cases, and we went to this place called Anoka, Minnesota, that is the Halloween capital of the world, to their Grand Lodge there. And from that lodge, it went into Pennsylvania. From that lodge, it went to Singapore, China, in Sichuan province. and it has been there. And these things coming out of what they say the Wuhan lab was not created there. It was created in the United States, and I'm a witness to this. I can prove it. You can hook me up to a lie detector. I can prove it. I can also prove what these things are made out of and the components all coming back to the same entity and what our material makeup as human beings being probably close to 95% alien material. This isn't um, unknown DNA or anything. This was polluted DNA to keep us sick and repressed so they could have that control over us. And that's what they're using for control, like with the stay-at-home lockdowns and the masks and all the rest of that stuff. They're going to use it to their benefit, you know. So anyway, so then I started really doing some studying on what was going on in the world because I didn't like the way I was being treated. And when I started decoding their blue book with the King James New Testament, Strong's Concordance, thesaurus, but it has to be a Webster's dictionary to get the full understanding of what's going on in the New Testament, especially the book of Revelation. There's other ways to do that, but there's a code. I have a video with how to decode all of that with the languages and whether it's like a noun or where that word derived from and whether or not it's the first, second, or third definition of that word that they're going to be using. If you change a word in a sentence or a paragraph, that one word might alter the meaning of that whole chapter in a book, you know? So, like if you replace the word dad with mom in the birthing process, that's going to indicate, although it's a lie to people that don't know any better, that that's the process, that's the word just because it's written, but that doesn't make it true, you know. So I tell people to go into pre-Hebrew, the Assyrian languages, Sanskrit, learn that. There's actually an angelic alphabet. There's different things in the world and different ways to derive the truth, and some of you know that, you know. Some people don't even want to know the truth because their lives are so vacant of wanting to learn anything, or they want everybody else to tell them things that they could learn for themselves. Like I've forever been telling them, even without that blue book, you can use 1921 Webster's Dictionary, the King James Bible, and Strong's Concordance, and you can derive the true meanings of the word with just those 3 books. But you have to read every book in the Bible, and you have to, like the word the or and, you have to understand whether or not that and, if it's even appropriate to put an and in somewhere, or it could be, say, Jesus was talking to his disciples and, well, maybe that and wasn't meant to be there, meaning anybody else, you know, those types of things, little subtle, like the nuances in the story that is so altered and twisted I'll say it once again. Christ's Spirit comes from God. That's not Christ himself. Christ is a separate person. Although him and the Father are one in spirit, they're still separate entities. There's a trinity. The divine female, divine meaning to divide. The original mother is also a part of that Holy Spirit. That's the name. If you deny the name of the Holy Spirit, you will not enter the kingdom of God. Now, there's a lot of people that know this to be true. You're not praying to Jesus. You're not praying to the divine feminine. You're trying to talk to God. I'm trying to talk to God with the Christ Spirit. But if you take the mom out of the picture, you're not able to communicate fully because you're not talking to both parents. You're not using both parents to get to that Almighty. You're only using one half of the equation that has been polluted by the false female entity of Satan. Using both Christ's Spirit and the divine feminine's energy, and your prayers go nowhere because you don't have the full understanding. I'm not saying things that you prayed for won't come true and that God does not hear you because he knows the desires of your heart. I'm just telling you that the Trinity is a true thing. And until Satan feels the pressure of people like me stepping on his head and letting that energy flow into the people with that Christ Spirit from both parents, not just one, people will not fully wake up. But the people that are starting to realize, like, wow, there is a spirit of a mother and a father. And the mother obviously honors the father as the Almighty. So what's getting in the way of that whole thing? It's the lack of respect for the female. That's what it is. And that's what's going on in this planet. Like I say, and I'm going to say it again. Yes, Christ is our King, but we are not meant to honor him as the Almighty. He's our go-between to get to seeking the face of the Father. It doesn't say seek the face of the Mother or seek the face of Jesus. It's seek the face of the Father. Christ wants you to be able to connect with God, not him. Yeah, not pointing at myself. Yeah, I'm not him. He's our go-between. He's not the Almighty. He's a representation of God in the flesh. There's still three separate entities. The Trinity isn't fully understood. Preachers can't even explain it because they want to omit the female. They're making it sound like God made Christ and the Word was with him at the beginning. Well, what if the Word was the female? And what does that tell you for people that know that women are very talkative? What does that indicate? Who do you think the Word actually was? And that mindset. So if God was able to come through a woman's body, that's his power coming through that woman's body. The woman isn't to take credit for what God is, but she also isn't supposed to be dishonored. That's the part that if you don't know that part, you are not entering the kingdom of God because you're denying our mother. That's a fact. Some people are catching on. The Holy Spirit, the female spirit, you feel that calmness in your heart. That's the feminine energy. She communicates with Christ. They communicate as a team. You have to talk to the team to get to the Father. At least I would say it's a very good idea, or you could be stuck in Never Never Land for a long time because you're denying the female spirit trying to talk to your heart. That's a lot of ego tripping women out on this planet that don't want to believe that there's any female that had anything to do with creation. you know. So. Or the ego tripping men that believe that they're God unto themselves and will deny that there's an almighty. Oh yeah, it's a real thing. The Trinity is a real thing. The younger one, the one that was tortured for spreading the word of God and trying to bring people out of Babylon and Zion, is our example on how to do things right. Never denied God, of course, and honored his mother above all other women. And Mary was his favorite disciple. That wasn't because of the way she looked or acted. Well, acted, yes. And there were two different Marys, three. One was his mother, one was his best friend, and the other was his sister. That is a whore. So, anyway. So the Trinity is very important to understand, and I don't know why preachers have a hard time talking about that. I was watching an Israel News Live yesterday. It was from, probably the day before, perhaps, and he was talking about a prayer to talk to God, like going in his closet and talking to God so he's not praying out in public and whatever, and God will hear you more when you're in private and whatnot. Yeah, that's all fine and cool. But he said that you should fall in love with Jesus and be intimate. Okay, these are some off kilter, very queer sounding words to me that are not found in any scripture on the effing planet. Where's your head, dude? Come on. We're not catering to the illness on this planet. This should go like this: seek the Father's face, use the Christ Spirit to communicate with God, and honor your mother and father. If you can get those three things. I don't want to be intimate with my father, and I do not need to fall in love with Jesus. See, who wants to fall in love with your father and be intimate? Those words just they're not appropriate. It's like the bride of Christ. It's not appropriate, people. Stop it. Why don't you use some common sense that isn't so common? It's the language. It's all in the language. We're catering to the insanity in the world. Oh, what's the word? Be intimate with my fellow. Slap, slap. Yuck. Wow. No, 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 no. I don't fall in love with my parent. I don't get intimate. Close, yes. Um, wouldn't you want a close relationship with your parent? And you already love your parents, so we don't need to fall in love. We can be raised with love, and we can be close to our parents, but intimate and falling in love is not written in any scripture around the world that, and I've read them all. I had access to all of them. Even Jason Breshears was talking about some oracles that I had read that there's probably like 2 copies of them in the whole world, and they're made with, well, I think it's human flesh, but it was supposed to be lamb skin on these white books that I was reading with all the religions in there and occult magic and everything, everything. And I've read like all kinds of beliefs on this planet that had nothing to do with any church, but that were beliefs and practices of people around the world and what the weird things people do. But I was really surprised. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be surprised that Jason came across these books also. That gave him a deeper understanding of really what's going on here and how they're trying to keep people from communicating with God. If you can't communicate with the half that's feminine, once again, female was taken out of man, made from a part of him that's no longer in him. You know, it's not, we're not searching for our other half. If you're a half of that and you started out being a part of that, you were already something different that was taken out. You've always been something different. You're fully aware that you're not that. You're somebody else. And that's the confusion, that they're trying to make it sound like 2 men and a baby. And logically, in the flesh, things have never worked that way. And it doesn't work that way in spirit either. Although, yes, the mind of Christ in God was always there. That's who he is till he came down into the flesh. And still, with the separation of woman coming down from out of that, she might be a younger individual in the whole scheme of things, but she still has something those other 2 do not have. That was taken out. It's still the Trinity. She's still a part of that, to teach that to the men, or to remind them of what was once with them and is no longer, to be here to teach everybody to make this family we call human beings. But if you deny the foundation of the family, now the foundation, that's the cornerstone, that is the mother. Who would be on top? If you were a strong man and you're building a pyramid, do you put that little woman underneath? Well, yeah, that's like the base, like giving birth, but wouldn't you put the lightest on the pinnacle? Wouldn't that be the pinnacle up on top, the lightest, but protected? And then, like the two strongholds on the bottom, they're trying to turn it upside down, you know? If you think of the whole makeup like a diamond, and there's a diamond down here, so you got Satan's little gal up there, and you got God's little gal up there. You got the Antichrist and the Christ. And yeah, it's all of God to teach us what everything is in all that. But you still have to remember that this is a lower vibrational existence we're in. And what is there on top, most people don't see. And that's the design. How close are you to God? Are you able to understand the actual true family of the beginning of creation? Or are you going to listen to the satanic lower vibration giving you all kinds of stories of how flesh was made with two men? It was the mind of a man splitting himself into a son coming into the flesh. Still two separate entities. One being the father, one being the son. Okay, where's mom? Where's Waldo? If you ever read that book to your kids or whatever. But yeah, just the language of the being intimate and falling in love. First off, who fell in love? you know, Language. I'd rather not fall, period. Well, I'm going to get this uploaded. I made my point. We don't fall in love with God. We love God. We're not going to be intimate with God. And that's just the way things are. It's like the Catholic nuns marrying Christ. It's ridiculous. It's like the people in the Bible, just because they had many wives or concubines, if they were kings or anything, that didn't make that appropriate. That didn't mean that all those women in that household were happy with that situation. Nothing has changed on this planet. Infidelity and that type of thing is still why the angels got kicked out of heaven, because that isn't what they thought. They were going to do it better than God. That's trying to make something in a place of holiness to dirty that whole existence. Okay, if you have an innocent daughter and this daughter gets raped by a monster, and then that monster wants to kill her father so the father can't protect her, that's basically what is going on in the world, that type of vibe. Like the monster's trying to kill your father from protecting you, and you already got raped, so now you have offspring from a monster and generations of monsters that are just like that are still trying to keep the father from protecting that little girl or these little boys, you and you, out on this planet. And they're trying to make it so mom can't even console your heart with their tenderness. They're taking that coldness that's in the world and putting it in everybody through their sexuality, and your hearts are waxing cold from the feminine spirit that is of Christ, his mindset, through that woman, to try and take half of the equation. That is the earthly part of this world. away from you. So, just 1 second. Do you need the water? I did unplug the pump. Ah, he didn't hear me. Oh well. Okay, I'm going to get this uploaded. I just want to make this clear about the Trinity, and we don't fall in love with God. We love God like we love our father, any parent. It's our forefather, our foreparents, and we don't fall, period. The fallen angels were cast into human bodies to give them the chance to learn how to grow because they thought they were above human beings when human beings had a closer connection with their father than the angels did, and they didn't appreciate that advancement and their gifts that they did have. And that's where the humans were raped by angels, and they tried to kill God and all his creation, and they're still trying to do that. And everything I'm telling you is the truth, and you will find it out. There's people that are trying very hard to get all this information out to you. You know, it's just like Derek Bros. If he were going to talk about the mind virus and the parasites and the control that they're using, this has been going on for thousands of years, and as a control mechanism for people. Hello,
Make
hey.
a video?
Yeah, but it's okay.
I'll go.
No, say hi.
Hey, YouTube.
What's new?
Pardon?
What's new?
Everybody know about what's going on in Hawaii? How about Orlando, Florida? You know that disappeared too? How about that one? Nobody's talking about that. They're evacuating Spokane. They're evacuating California. They're evacuating 40,000 people between three of them, including Canada. Have a good day.
Wow. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right, everybody, I'm going to get this uploaded. I appreciate you joining me. Have a beautiful night or day wherever you're at. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.